All right, Amy, kick us off. Tell us
All
who
right,
you are,
well,
and then you gotta give us a fun fact too.
and I'm no one. No, so I'm Amy Quick. I'm a territory account manager with Fortinet, selling some good old cybersecurity. Gosh, one fact about me. Well, I think most people know that I'm like half American, half Brit. So RIP to Prince Philip today. It's a sad day for the monarchy in England. So I'm sure that's been all over the news all morning. So yeah, that's a like one quirky fact about me is that I'm in mourning today. I should be wearing black, but
all right, Patrick. How do you top that one?
I don't know. I'm not sure, but I guess I'll try. I'm Patrick Downs. I'm the king of swing, the podcast host without the most, the living embodiment of the smiling teardrop emoji. I also happen to be the sales enablement manager at PandaDoc. Fun fact that's not really fun. I'm related to General Custer, so take that as you will. I guess be careful around me.
Amazing. Mark.
All right, what's going on, everyone? I'm Mark Young. I head up marketing here at Dooley. Yeah, what we typically like to say is, if you're using Salesforce, we take the F out of SFDC, and we'll leave it there. But fun fact about me is some of these folks here have had some hot sauce with us on our hot sauce show, Fire Talks. And before I started that show, I had never even owned hot sauce. Didn't even exist in my fridge.
Wow.
So leave that where it is.
Thank you.
You are now a beast at hot sauce.
I have 5 hot sauces in my fridge that I enjoy eating now. It's been like a game-changing moment for me.
you must consume kaopectate and like Pepto-Bismol on a regular basis. Like that's got to be a staple in your fridge now. That's all I can say.
I'm like Homer,
Yeah.
the melted candle. I've just got like the iron stomach, and it's been good to go. And I don't know, maybe it's a genetic trait, but
There it is.
David.
Cool. Well, hey everyone. Nice to see you guys again. David Weiss. I'm the RVP of sales for Seismic. On the side, I love doing anything I can to just help the sales community. One of my big projects right now is my podcast, Psych and Sales, helping people with the mental health aspect of the sales profession. And Francois, Patrick, others have been on it, so thank you guys. Fun fact about me, what is a fun fact about me?
Well, how long was your hair a week ago?
Well, yeah, I guess that is a fun fact. My hair used to be like down to here, and I just like clippers, and it's gone. So yeah, we'll go with that.
Born again. Awesome. Rusty, man, floor's over to you. Tell us who you are, what you do, and then how we can help you today.
Yeah, I am the first US sales rep for Impressive Digital. So just getting together a sales process over there at this moment. I guess a fun fact about me is that I'm a glorified finger painter. I finger paint is what I did before this. Actually, during COVID, I've done a lot of mostly just finger, but everything I do is all done with my fingers. So I'm a glorified finger painter. So fun fact. Yeah, excited to get some feedback from everyone, just around, some different things that I can do so that I make sure that I'm going into this strong. I did just start on the phones yesterday. So it's definitely going to need some work. And so I will take all of your guys' feedback and constructive criticism, as it may be, with as much agreement.
So maybe give us some context, like what are you helping Impressive Digital sell in North America? And
yeah,
is it all outbound? Like, are you just looking for certain size accounts, or maybe?
I would say one bottleneck that I'm having right now is finding qualified leads. I know we're using a couple of different systems right now in order to do this, but we sell SEM, SEO, PPC, but it's a very unique product in the sense that we only take on 6 clients a month. We work very close knit with our clients. We make sure that their plan is catered to them, and we figure out exactly what they need, whether it be SEM, SEO, figure out their entire plan and work through them with it, month through month, to make sure that we're maximizing the return for them. So it's, I've worked in some different lead gen companies in the past. Formerly, I worked for Outbound Engine for a long time, but a very, very different product for me, and very positive, and a product that I definitely can stand by and believe in. So I'm excited to be the front face of the US for them.
So right now you're just dealing, like, are you dealing predominantly with inbound leads?
No. So nothing inbound right now. I'm
Okay.
completely outbound, cold prospecting, finding my own leads, calling out on e-commerce managers, e-commerce marketing managers, things of that title.
And are you able to, like, are you finding one of the challenges is actually just getting like that first convo, or the second, like where are you kind of getting stuck?
Yeah, I would say the biggest bottleneck is probably the time it's taking me to actually get these, source leads that are worth calling. We do use a couple of different programs, Seamless AI being one of them, HubSpot being our CRM, but just haven't had the best luck with them so far. And I've watched tons of videos, how-tos, best ways to use, everything like that. I just don't feel like the data coming out of it is as good as it can be. The few leads that I have taken my time on, and actually went after and looked into, and went one by one, which I'm saying is very time consuming, to go and look for their email, then phone number, everything like that. I've been able to get a lot further with them, actually spark conversation, everything like that. So obviously it's going to benefit me to make sure that I'm sourcing as qualified leads as I can. But I think that's my biggest bottleneck now, is figuring out the most time efficient way to source people that are worth calling.
All right, I'm looking at everybody else here for ideas. Who wants to go
Yeah,
first?
well, I mean, I agree with David. He just put in the chat, like, defining kind of your ICP, because you
Yeah.
need to do that now, right? Because if you are going to look at any other tools or solutions or, lead generation programs,
Mhm.
you need to nail your ICP, because otherwise your potential like list of prospects is going to be massive, like
Yeah.
really massive.
Yeah, so I do have the ICP laid down, as far as down to exactly who I'm targeting and everything like that. I think it's more of in the past, in my experience in the past, most of my experience has been through getting leads fed to me, right? List of leads, calling through the numbers, going through the numbers, working your way up, finally getting those warm leads, those hot leads, whatever it may be, but in experience of just dialing numbers, let's say, sort of thing. So going after, my ideal client and figuring out the best way to target these has been a little bit of a change for me, and it's been, difficult. But I have identified
Exercise.
the ideal client.
Let's go through that exercise. What is your ICP?
So ideal client is someone that knows what they want. They see value in marketing. I mean, in the sense that they
Take a step back, because you don't know any of that before you target something. So like, what's the title? Who are you targeting? Business
okay.
owner?
So if we're talking companies rather than an ideal client and an actual person that I'm looking to talk to, companies we're looking to talk to, five or more employees, have e-commerce online, an average size deal of $100 or more, or transaction of $100 or more, looking to grow, has marketing in place already, has defined goals. They know what they want to target. A company looking to shine some light on a single product.
But ICP can't be 5+, because that's the whole list. So like, what is the sweet spot? You guys are great with companies that have 5 to 50 employees, 5 to 500.
So I have 5 and over. We can really work with anyone that has. I think it more goes into the size deal, because as long as their online transaction deal is 100 or more, we can work with them.
But is that your sweet spot? Like, if you think of where you have current customers, where do you have the most current customers? What's the size? What's industry? Because one of the first things you're going to want to do to gain access into these customers is say, we work with people like you. So like,
yeah, exactly.
Who's the like you that you guys serve?
So fashion is huge for us. So that's one vertical I've started to target. Fashion.
David, is there, I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer to this, but can you have like 3 persona ICPs? So like the 5 to 50 with $100 to $1,000 transaction in fashion. I'm making these up, Rusty. And then like the, 5 or more like 20 to 200. You know what I mean? Like just, I think what we're trying to figure out is like who to go after. And maybe those are 5 personas, but then also eliminating the 100 other personas to not go after.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Look, you don't want to boil the ocean. You want to be able to say, we service people like you. You can have as many personas as you want, as long as they align to, we service people like you and certain things that you can sell. And you want to get really focused on those, because if your major problem is who do I speak to and how do I reach them, that's where you're going to solve that, is getting really crisp on that definition, because then you can weed out 90% of noise over here, focus and do your homework on this bucket.
Mark,
Yeah,
go ahead. I was just going to ask you,
Yeah.
like, when you guys first started, I mean, obviously anybody using Salesforce is a customer, but that's a lot of people.
Exactly. I think at the end of the day, like I just wrote a post about this yesterday. Kevin Kelly, his essay, 1,000 True Fans, is one of my favorite pieces. I read it all the time. Highly recommend it. Basically, like, you want to get as granular as possible, like what Dave said. And at the end of the day, create something, your content, your outbound strategy, whatever it is, that 100 people will love, as opposed to something that 1,000 people will kind of like. And where I go is, if you're creating something for an SMB, high velocity mid-market sale, which is like an early stage e-com company, it sounds like that's what that is. It's an e-com manager. It's probably someone who maybe has a big commerce store, a Shopify store, scaled it, had some initial product market fit, is starting to do some performance marketing. Maybe they're on Instagram if it's fashion focused, right? But they're looking for someone to help them grow and build an inbound engine. What I'm immediately thinking about is, where do they live? Are you fishing in the right places? So for me, the tactical advice I would say today is, I would go to SparkToro. I would do some research to find out where your audience lives. Basically a tool that helps you find out what content your audience consume and where they are, like what podcasts they listen to, what shows, what meetups. And then I would just try to interview some customers and understand what they do, right? So like Big Commerce is a customer of ours. We love them. They host meetups, the same that Shopify does for e-com players. They have LinkedIn events all the time. Like, these used to be in person. There's a ton of like hyper specific things that you could get to of like scaling e-com fashion businesses that I'm sure like your ICP would live in. And then if you don't have a great volume of like inbound leads right now, I would 100% start to think about how you, with your personal brand and your content, can start to bring some unique messaging that would relate to that audience. So when you connect with these people after these meetups and you're writing content about something funny that has to do with Instagram and fashion and e-com, right? Like, that is really what's going to help build that inbound engine for you and become someone that people are going to want to follow. And then the next time you go to that meetup, there's going to be like, oh yeah, have you talked to Rusty? Like, Rusty's great, or you should follow Rusty. And that's going to become kind of the engine that lets you start to build traction and credibility in this space. And then you can essentially start to figure out like what's working, do more of what is and less of what isn't. But at like 100,000 foot level, I would immediately just go and try to go as narrow as possible, Kevin Kelly style, deep dive there, and then really try to make sure you can kind of thread the line. So like, I'll wrap up here, but like, I'm a marketer, right? I've never been an account executive, which is like one of our primary ICPs here at Dooley. Sales enablement's another one, Patrick. I've never been in sales enablement, but what I try to do is like, I create content at the intersection of marketing and sales, right? So like, that's the line that I try to thread, so that way when I'm growing my base with my content, it's still relevant for the folks that we're trying to speak to. And I think you can kind of find your niche of even how sales fits in with e-com, right? And if you're there as a creator yourself and understand it, it helps show that you really just have some empathy for what they're going for. Because at the end of the day, like, that empathy and that ability to be like, oh man, the worst feeling in the world when someone adds like an amazing ACV order to their cart and then leaves, and there's 500 sitting in checkout, where you could come back and say, hey, if we implemented this remarketing program for you, where we're going to send emails and we're going to have a drip campaign and we're going to do display ads retargeting that, right? Like, that's the angle I would go. And I have an idea for your first piece of content already. It's awesome. This post went viral back from Amazon of someone buying a toilet seat. and then it got remarketed to that person for like 30 days, just toilet seats on every website they were on. That's a hilarious post for e-com for your segment, that you could talk about the bad ways that e-com marketers are doing remarketing and how your business will help them define a strategy that's going to actually result them in deals. So that's where my head goes. I know I went on a bit of a tangent, but I'm
No, that's
passionate
awesome.
about this stuff.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I really love the feedback. So thank you. And you know, just another question. What do you see as the most time effective way to do this? I mean, even figuring out, you know, that ICP and knowing the companies to go after at this point, or, you know, what companies may be a fit, me researching and spending hours a day researching and finding these leads, because I've found that the lead generation tools I'm using at the moment just are not generating numbers that are viable, or, you know, I'm seeing that it's more beneficial for me to go in and do my own research. I mean, can I ask what you've had success as far as when sourcing an abundance of leads and getting, you know?
Sales Navigator is always good. I mean, the thing is, like, I mean, I know we keep harping on ICP, but the reason why that's so effective is, I mean, I've called paid and bought lists, right? Just Excel spreadsheets that you've just dialed down with very minimal information outside of contact information. And you can spend an entire day dialing hundreds and hundreds of phone calls and never connect with a human being, or none of them are qualified buyers. So your ability to define your ICP, run lists that you feel are relevant to the prospects that you're trying to have conversations with, and then spending your time, you know, building like outreach campaigns, phone calls, emails, your personal branding, kind of messaging that towards them, like, you know, even sending messages saying, hey, I think this last post that I did would be relevant to you. Would love for, you know, for you to check it out and give me your thoughts and opinions on it, you know, anything like that. Then you can really focus on, you know, very, very targeted lists of people that qualify in your ICP range. And like David said, you know, one of the things that I do is come up with my tier 1, 2, and 3 accounts, right? Those are kind of like tiers that I work with, and I spend the most of my time running lists and reports on my tier 1 and tier 2, because those are my strongest potential prospects. And I'm going to spend more of my time kind of prospecting within those lists and less time on like my tier 3, which are like, you know, they're maybes, but they're just weaker. They're not as close to my like really, really strong ICP. But the thing for you is finding a tool that can help you generate those lists quickly and effectively, and they can be as specific as you need them to be. And there's no, like, I think, tried and true where it's just, you're just going to get the most beautiful list that's just perfect for you. You're going to have to make,
Of course,
you know, and
yeah, no,
we all like deal with that, right? But I think the closer you can get to, I don't know, man, I would, what's your budget look like for talking with different organizations and sales tools that build lead lists? And
so here's the thing, like lead list, if you're selling to people that are 5 to 10 employees, the most of the major tech stack tools aren't going down to that level. Yeah. So you need to do more grassroots. So, you know, when you're thinking, and I remember when I was selling, like some of these strategies are enterprise or mid-market strategies. If you're selling to people that have like 5, 10, 15 employees, those are like local companies that need to get better with their marketing and attract people. So think about that. Like I'm going to pick a couple businesses that we've sold to that are our best customers. I'm going to look at what city are they in, what town are they in. All right, now I'm going to look at what industry are they in. Are they haircut places? Are they body shops, auto dealers? Like, what are they? Then I'm going to look at that location. I'm going to say, okay, if we're in a sweet spot with hairdressers in this zip code, I'm going to find every hairdresser in that zip code. I'm going to put Google.
Yeah, no, so yeah, and I understand that. The only thing is that's a little different is that we don't have business in the US. So we've untapped the market, so we don't know our ideal. Now I can go to Australia and I can pull all of our data points in Australia and say, okay, our ideal, you know, person to sell for in Australia, and that's exactly what we've done. But as far as establishing, you know, exactly what area to sell into in the US is something that we have not figured out yet.
You live in Austin, right?
Yes, I'm in Austin. Austin, I know, is killer. I know it's there's tons of opportunity in Austin. So I'm starting here, obviously.
But I think what you're saying, David, is you should be able to take the template from Sydney or Melbourne and as different as we might be, North America to Australia, you should be able to say, okay, you know what, in Melbourne or Sydney, we sold to yoga studios, hairdressers, daycares.
Mhm.
Why can't we do that in Dallas, Houston, and Austin?
Yeah,
So-
so I would take
Yeah.
that profile and apply it and pick a market. Because look, there's a billion small companies. So pick a market,
Mhm.
focus on like this month, my market is Austin. Next month, Houston, next month, Dallas. I'm gonna pick a city, pick a town. I'm gonna looking for people in ICP. I'm just gonna go to Google and I'm just gonna be like, hairdressers, this zip code, this city. And then I'm just gonna literally, there are 1,000 people are gonna come up. I'm just gonna go, that's my lead list. My lead list is all those people. That's it.
Yeah, so I've got a unique point of view on this because my wife, she's the chief strategy officer over at Unbounce, and she used to lead the social team and the product marketing team at Yellow Pages, selling SEO and SEM to small businesses. So she literally scaled that team from 0 to 35 people, and now leads strategy for Unbounce, which is landing page software. And this is like the sweet spot. I've seen it from a strategic lens. She's grown all these businesses massively. Unbounce just raised $50 million, like crushing it. And the core thing that I would recommend is 2 things. First, marketing risk. This is an analogy, one of my favorite ones from Saul Colt. If you're not following him, he's great. The board game Risk. When you think about like where your people are right now, oftentimes you'll get told to like move your troops all the way from like one market to the next across the world. But think about a game of Risk. If you did that, what's going to happen? You're going to get divided and conquered from all sides. So instead, what I'm a big fan of is making 1% incremental jumps from where you are. The same way in a game of Risk, you move your pieces. Selling to SMBs in one vertical, what's the thing that's like 5 or 10% relevant to that, where your social trust and the benefits you've created there will be relevant to that tangential market, and you move in solidarity. And the best way that I've found to do this, my favorite person has a very simple model. It's Joanna Wiebe over at Copy Hackers, and she has this simple G sheet template that just says, get on a call with 20 customers or listen to 20 call recordings, and in chronological order, map the documentary moments, the magic moments that they have of when you're talking to them, and in chronological order, like in left to right, map out what does it start with, then what does it lead to, and you map out the questions they ask you, the pains, what they're thinking about, and then depending on what those personas may be across that sheet, and this is exactly what I did when I joined Dooley day 5, I have a clean sheet with 30 rows and maps out my personas, what my customers care about, and you find an easy set of trends, right? I've got like 7 trends in the G sheet that I'm looking at right now. I take those trends, I understand my current market, and then I go and look and see, is there another market that's close to us that we can tap into, that we can replicate this? And I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, we can jump in right here, it's perfect. And then I would do exactly what I said, right? Go in SparkToro, find where those people are, go meet them, talk to them, and run that same playbook again. And then the best way that you can get messaging that converts for your outbound emails, your connection requests, is take their voice. The things that they say, those, when you notice when you're saying something on a call and everyone's like that wow moment, that point, they're like, wait, you could do what for me? That's the stuff where you take their words and you put a little bit of copywriting on it. And Joanna Wiebe has a great model. Like one of our best performing messaging came straight from a G2 quote. And something that someone said to us on a customer call, and it was, hey, before Dooley, my manager was shoulder tapping me all the time to update Salesforce, but now like the CRM police are off my back. And we've turned this into like an entire campaign where we have like sirens and people in police outfits. And it was like a hilarious thing that like I wouldn't have come up with. And we just copy edited it based on that voice. So I can send you over kind of the model from Joanna, but like it's a game changer and it's so simple. And it was sort of like such a strong foundation to everything that, everyone's saying about like ICP and building it. And then it's easy for you to create that playbook that anyone on your team as you scale can replicate. And then you're all on the same page, because you're speaking the voice of your customer.
Awesome.
That was awesome.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really good. Yeah, I love that. I don't have anything to add.
But it's clearly worked, Mark, because I mean, I don't know how long you've been at Dooley. Like you guys have been just like growing, like just like, I don't know if it's been hockey stick or more like the nice slow curve.
Yeah, so like I joined Dooley, it would have been in December 2019. So I've been there now kind of a year and a half, and we've closed 3 back-to-back rounds and have raised more than $27 million now, and are growing at a pace that like I work a lot right now to keep up with things.
But when you started that Google sheet, you said you had how many rows or columns, kind of 5 areas where you were targeting. And I'm curious, like how much that's expanded. Is that now like 40? Like,
yeah, so I mean, like if you want, I can screen share and kind of show this. Let me
totally.
just hide the who column. So there's nothing. Give me one sec. But honestly, like it's super straightforward. So like, here's what it looks like. I just pulled it up. You have your start time, your recording URL, you map the priorities, the segment, you'd have like the who it is, you'd have your line for quotes, and then whatever, you just go through your call chronologically and map out like what they say and when, and you highlight those core things. So if I look at all these rows here, it's highlighted. You'll see what key objections look like. You see what those wow moments are. And then you can whatever, just bucket those tabs into like the different use cases. And then this becomes a really great foundation because you understand the order of people. Like in this case, it was, oh, my notes live everywhere right now. They're in Google Docs, they're in Notepad. And you're telling me like they can just enter it in Dooley and it's going to sync everything to Salesforce. Well, what does it push? Is it the activity? Well, what about that? Well, we're using Outreach right now. Does it integrate? And you find these trends, and it's just like the easiest way to get everyone on the same page. It gets so it's a simple format, just columns. But like, if you haven't read the book by Jake Knapp, the Sprint book over at Google, it's awesome. To test an idea and get a sense of like what matters to a group, you only need 5 people. So if you have 5 current customers, 5 people you can talk to, I always recommend getting more. If you can do 15, if you can do 20, great. But you'll start to see trends with as little as 5. You could do it in one afternoon, and then you'll have an idea. You can pick the most salient thing and just like lean into that.
Interesting. Go ahead, Amy.
No, I was just gonna say, I think that's it's a really good process. I think for once you've defined your list a little bit more and you feel like you've got the leads there to actually have those conversations with, like Mark, that list is, or that Google sheet is out of this world. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm like so like lackadaisical with my scripts. I'd be like, where am I going? Oh, but no, that was really good. I like it.
Patrick, I was going to pick on you because I know you've been thinking so vigorously.
Vigorously. Yeah.
I was going to say violently, but it's a Friday. I know you said, like when we were talking a while ago, like you guys have been really fortunately an awesome inbound engine, and I think you've been working on the outbound. Like, I'm curious, how did you guys segment it? Like, is it 3 like enterprise, mid-market, SMB, and then like how granular have you guys got?
Yeah, exactly. We have an enterprise outbound SDR team, mid-market, commercial, and high velocity. And then each rep has a vertical that they go into and a territory within. And then we use Lead IQ, Zoom Info, and Seamless because usually one of those data providers isn't going to be enough to get everything you need. So use a combination of them for that. And we just use SalesNav to find the leads. We narrow it down within the vertical and the territory. And then we look for people that have like markers, we call them. So like leader that's changed roles in the last 90 days, or like it's someone that they're connected to, or someone that's connected to one of our leaders, like some reason to reach out. And then we'll select them in the data tool and just import it to Salesforce and add it to a cadence in SalesLoft.
Like that. Wow.
Interesting. So
You make it sound so easy.
yeah, I was like, wow.
Like
Well,
they would just do all this magic behind the scenes and poof.
It's all tech, right? I mean, you got to have the right tools. Like you got to make sure you have a sales engagement platform too. Like if you're just using HubSpot, which I know doesn't really connect to a lot of the SCPs, unfortunately, you might even want to talk about getting your team to invest in Salesforce because it connects to every sales engagement platform. Then you have a choice of like Xant, Outreach, SalesLoft, all of them.
Yeah. But I mean, going back to David's idea, until you can get to that point where you have the budget, for various sales tools and kind of being able to combine tools to kind of fill the gaps, because there's always going to be gaps. I like the idea of just taking geographic regions, like DFW, Austin, East Coast, ATL, and hitting like those mid-market accounts, which
I think that's the best idea.
I mean, Google, like fashion salons or anything with everything has e-commerce now, especially.
Yeah, exactly. With COVID just passing too.
Exactly. And just start there. And you can create your own lists and I don't know a 10-minute Google search in the morning, and it may give you like 20.
We've been talking a lot. Can we turn it back to you? Like, what are some thoughts on what we've been saying? any other problems that you're trying to solve. Love to make sure your voice is heard a lot in this question.
Yeah.
No, I think, you know, I got, you guys gave me really everything I need. I just really needed some feedback around, you know, some different ideas, some different ears to listen. I like all your guys' ideas. I mean, you know, and it's a bit I can take from each of you, definitely, from tools to, you know, being super calculated like Mark over there. And then, or just going towards after one, you know, region of people, or concentrating on one area and moving, you know, these are all things I definitely want to do.
So I'm curious, like, has the Australian team, are you kind of like on your own? They're kind of saying like, figure it out, or are they kind of saying, hey, we think the template that we have and that's worked in Australia should work?
Yeah. So I'm using all that, exactly. That we're taking the ICP from Australia. We're using all the data from Australia and saying that this customer in Australia fits this profile, so this customer in America should, you know, be in the same situation. So
So whether it's fashion or whatever you guys have done well in, like you said, there's no reason it can't be replicated.
exactly. I know it can be replicated. More of just getting, you know, and just getting feedback from people that have the knowledge, like, you know, everyone on this call. Being able to take little pieces, I think, like every, you know, awesome sales rep does, takes little pieces from everyone that they come across and uses the best of it, you know. So I definitely think that this is a lot of help for sure.
How long have you been in the role again, Rusty? Like, just said, it's not been that
So
long,
I
right?
started since no. I started on the 22nd, actually.
Yeah, so this is a good, I mean, I don't know. I think
So-
you're being proactive as hell, man. So it's not easy, you know, but kudos to you, because like you'll get in the swing of things, and this is the right step in the right direction. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's tough sometimes when you're starting out, you know, and you're having to, I mean, you're pretty much defining a territory. I mean, the US is a territory, so kudos to you.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely an exciting opportunity. I want to make sure I'm doing everything I can to be as successful as possible at it, right?
Are you guys are you trying to narrow it down? I'm wondering if this would help in narrowing down at all, but like people that are using certain e-commerce platforms as well, or is it just e-commerce like blanket?
Anyone doing basically e-commerce sales. I mean, we're looking for e-commerce shops online, you know.
I'm just wondering if it'd be easier, or if you'd have more stories that are more catered to, hey, we know we've done this with people that use this e-commerce platform, or does that even matter? I mean, it's not a space I'm familiar with, but
See, that I wouldn't know either. I wouldn't know if that would matter. I mean, that's not data that I have. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's something I could definitely look into. That
I feel like
might be useful.
I feel like we gave like we've dumped a pile of stuff on Rusty, and he needs to like he's got to digest this, and it's like we need to come back in like a month.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I would definitely be up for that. Just to kind of see the progress I've made, or the bottlenecks I've hit, and kind of get your guys' feedback. Since you guys have this now, I'll definitely connect with everyone on here. And if you could send me that as well, I'd really appreciate
Be
that.
careful, Rusty. Be careful. We'll hold you to it. Like in 30 days, we'll have you back on, and we'll be like, okay, show us your ICP. Show us that.
Oh yeah, no, I'm ready for it. I'm up for a challenge. Always up for a challenge, man.
Yeah.
What are you doing for like Mark was talking about personal brand? So what's Progressive's stance on that?
You got
I smile a lot, you know.
You got an amazing first and last name. Like, has anybody else thought like, right? Mark, I'm sure Mark's got.
I've had CEOs stop and tell me your name is amazing, you know, Rusty, because yeah, you know, this is Rusty Betts with, you know, it sounds catchy. So the name's a plus. When I get on Zoom calls, I always get commented on my smile. So my smile's a plus, you know. You know, I think that's how you sell yourself. As long as you're smiling the whole time, it's hard for someone else not to. Right?
Zoom camera on is an overrated thing that not enough salespeople do. I can't tell you how many calls I've got on and their camera is off, and it's such a missed opportunity to connect and create that bond. Like,
oh yeah.
I know we talked before about like when you're coming into a new place, and it's hard, right, to personalize at scale. Some of the things that I kind of learned early on that might help. When I met Dave, I had just joined the Revenue Collective, and I had met a bunch of folks, Dale Dupree, and introed me to Dave, and we got to chatting. And one of the things that I found super interesting, and Beck Holland talks a lot about this if you're not following Beck, is like try to find stuff in the territory that you're working in, so that when you send a connect to someone, it feels personalized at scale, but it doesn't have to be. So a good example is like inside the Revenue Collective, it's like this sales community. I used to send like really personal one-to-one notes to everyone that joined to help like just learn. This is like my first year and a half in SaaS. I wanted to connect to people and learn. And that took a lot of time. So I was like, oh, like what could I do that would be like an interesting way that I can personalize and have like 1/3 of that, but be able to do it like a higher velocity so it doesn't take up too much of my time. And what I landed on was I was supposed to be going to San Francisco, New York, and a few places in the fall when the pandemic happened. And I would mention a small snippet of what they had shared inside their Slack group when they joined. And I would say, hey, was supposed to be in, if they live in New York, example, like New York right now, literally would pay $100 for a Shake Shack hamburger, or, so pumped to go to Carbone, my favorite restaurant. And I picked like restaurants because like these were plans that I had, and I put it in my text expander as a snippet. And I have Revenue Collective, New York, San Francisco, LA, like all the places I was traveling. I'd have one piece of what they mentioned in their intro post, and I would tie it back to something like that. And it was like a really great way for me to like create a bond with people, talk about food,
Right.
talk about restaurants, talk about pets. And you just got to find that thing that you can replicate and create like what seems like a personal bond. And even if you throw something funny in your headline on LinkedIn about e-com or something like that, like I think I come back to like the retargeting example, right? And the toilet seat following you around, like pick something funny, unique, that's going to stand out to your verticals, make it engaging, find that hook, text expander it, and try to use that as like a soft way to get to meet people. And if you see something working, like just double down and iterate on that. And that's what I've kind of done in the communities, and you got to find like systems that make it effective for you.
Awesome.
Don't make a rusty bet on your e-commerce play.
It's awesome. I was just like trying to figure that out. Oh, it's great.
You
Dude,
remind me of Ocean's
absolutely-
11. Rusty from Ocean's 11 by Brad Pitt in the suit. Like I'd have him up there with my face and holding some e-com stuff. Francis, like the headline is gold. It's gold. It's like
Thinking
we
about
should
Rusty
tag team.
Griswold from Vegas Vacation,
There
Yeah,
you
this
go.
is so good.
Yeah, whatever you could do to be memorable, because then when people get emails and crap from you, like I get emails all the time, and the first thing I do is look up the person's name. And a lot of times I'm like, nah, hard pass. But if they like see you and there's something about you and your personal brand that's appealing or if interesting or different, like you'd be amazed at how much that stands out, because I'm more likely to respond to someone because I see like they've kind of got a great vibe. It seems like they know what they're talking about, or they're funny. I don't know. It breaks up the monotony of the day. So
Yeah.
it's awesome. Definitely use your name, because
Yeah, I think you have a riot on LinkedIn with just like memes and polls and just like fun, self-deprecating humor. There's got to be some Aussie jokes you can throw in there. Like just have fun for the first bit, because I think if you try and go too serious and talk technical about what you guys do, people tune that out. That's not you.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's really helpful. All that.
I mean, I'm sure a few of us can send you some memes to get you started. So, but
I'll take them.
I kind of feel like we threw a ton of homework in your lap, and you gotta go work on it. And like I said, maybe in a month we do circle back, no pressure. You got to show us your ICP, all that stuff. But I kind of feel like, unless you have any other questions, I'm happy to wrap it up and give people like a few minutes back in their day. Like I feel like you got a ton of info. Like I feel like,
I think I got enough. I mean, I got some starting points. I got some things to try. I've got 30 days. I'm just kidding. No, I think this is good. I really appreciate everyone's feedback, everyone's help, and
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Don't be a stranger too, like
Sure.
we've all been there. So happy to help moving forward as well.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Okay. I'm gonna give everybody some time back. I know that's a fan favorite on a Friday, so appreciate everybody making time. Rusty, thanks for making time as well, and have a great weekend, everyone.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Have a good one, y'all. Bye.
Thanks, all.